Right, what's the best way to grab yourself a gorgeous guy? And more importantly, how did he woo you? Now, the Times recently looked at the differences in chat-up lines across the continents, but how did you and your man meet? And what was it that clinched the deal?
Well, I had met Tim about 10 years before we actually got together, but we were both in other relationships, and we didn't like each other at all. We met at an audition. And after that, we knew each other for years. And I did, in fact, get that job, but then I chose to do one in London because, of course, my then-boyfriend was in London. So we didn't like each other.
What did he think of you when he
Well, I
first
thought
met
he
you?
was really sort of grumpy and guarded. And he thought that I was a flirt who always had a glass of wine and a fag in her hand, as if. I mean, how wrong could he have been? So we didn't really like each other. And then 10 years on, we both found ourselves at this dinner party, and apparently he'd gone, oh, why is she coming? And I'd gone, oh, why is he going to be there? But then when I was there, I realised that I'd sort of got him wrong. I mean, obviously he looked completely different when I met him, and he sort of had some hair in a tash, and he was in a double act.
We've actually got a picture today.
There he is! Oh. There he is! He was in...
He's been stalked by Benny Hill.
Absolutely! And how could you resist someone in a double act called Bright and Breezy? With this club comic dash. But anyway, despite that, we were at the dinner party, and he cooked the dinner, which impressed me, because I don't do that. He held his knife and fork properly, which impressed me.
Oh, it was a bonus, I
Well,
find.
it is. You know those little things that your mum's drummed into you over the years, and you think that the little thing, little things can put you off, people. But anyway, he did that. And also, I had promised my sister I'd be back home for Mum and Dad's party, because she'd said, please don't leave me with Mum and Dad's drunken friends, come out. So Tim had plied me with Black Velvet, which was champagne and Guinness, because, of course, I don't like a drink, as you know, and forced me to drink that. But he went upstairs and changed into this suit. And I thought that was really sweet. Came back and played the guitar for all Mum and Dad's friends and everything, and did a bit of singing. And then we sort of became mates, and then I went to his flat in London, and he'd cooked me this gorgeous carbonara and bought me my favourite champagne. And it wasn't until about a month later that I went on set when he was doing this sitcom, and all the crew went a little bit furtive, and they showed me the centre pages of a tabloid newspaper where some girl had sold a story and was sat like this, going, my nights with Tiger Tim. Where, upon reading, she said, he wooed me with my favourite champagne and spaghetti carbonara. And she also said, he was a cross between James Bond and Casanova rolled into one. So
I thought he was at the time, Dan.
Honestly. But the fact that, I think that he was quite pleased that I laughed about it, you know.
So that was his deal clincher with everyone.
That was the clincher.
How about
I have
Ray?
to say, the first time I met Ray was in this bar. We'd both done separate shows, and we met in this bar where everyone used to meet up afterwards. And I walked in with my sister Maureen, and I saw this group of blokes at the bar, and this particular bloke, who we now know as Ray, turned around and smiled at my sister Maureen, and she went, hello. And then I went, oh, hello. And he went... And he turned his back to me at the bar, and then all his friends around him burst out laughing, and I thought, what an absolute something I can't say at half-term. So I just thought, oh, I don't like him, and all night I was thinking, keep that idiot away from me. And then my niece came, I went to the loo, and my niece came in and said, you've got the whole thing wrong. She said, he's been mad about you and asking about you for about a year, and he's really quite shy. And then you walked in and he didn't know what to say, and that's why all his mates were laughing, because for a year he'd been saying to his mates, when I meet her, you know, I'm going to say this and I'm going to say that, and he couldn't say anything. So I went back out like that. Hi. But I really played hard to get for a couple of hours. It was quite good for me.
Because as your son said at the wedding, and then she was up the dove after about 2 minutes. In his speech.
It wasn't 2 minutes, it was 4.
Well, you have to be sort of, I think it's like a meeting of minds sometimes can bring people together. That was definitely it with Steve and I, because I found someone that was finally on my level, because we got together over realising that we were so rubbish we couldn't even finish the Sun crossword. And we would try every day, and we'd still not finished it even now. Same crossword 4 years on. But what sort of clinched it for me was I have this terrible thing where I keep getting... I say the wrong word. I know what I mean, but I get my words muddled up. For example, my parents used to live in Africa, and I can remember the first time I went being really quite shocked by it all. And I remember looking out the window and saying, oh, Mum, look at these people. so emancipated. She said, you mean emaciated? Yes, and Steve does that all the time. So like I say, it's a grand meeting of minds.
Or not.
Or not. But it's lovely.
Well, I took one look at Mr. Spain in his, what I describe as a hairdresser's car. It was a kind of red BMW Z thing, and I'd been in Spain with my friend Pat. She was buying a flat, and somebody said you should get this guy to do your mortgage, Pat. I was hungover, eating eggs and bacon, looking disgusting, and up comes this guy in a sports car, and I said, oh, look at the state of that. I said, he's a right jack, the lad. She said, yeah, she'll probably have got to know much better by 6 months' time. So I said, no, not for me, not for me. Anyway, he did charm me quite a bit, so much so that I bought a flat. I had no intention of buying a flat, but I did, just because I wanted to impress him. Yes,
You won't pay £2 for a card, but you'll buy a flat off
Yes,
someone.
well, there you are, you see.
How bizarre.
And then I said very grandly as I left, because you had to keep going back and forth to a notary, and you had to get, you know, power of attorney and all sorts. And I said, well, if you're ever, you know, in London, do give us a call and come for dinner. And he did call me, and he said, oh, I'm just passing through. As it happened, he was on the M6 in Manchester, which is not passing through at all. And I invited him round, and as we were talking on the phone, I was explaining how to get to my house. I said, well, you know, we'll have a bit of dinner. He said, I've got my daughter with me. Oh, good. Oh, this must bring her too. Anyway, she was about 23, 24, so I plied her with alcohol, so that halfway through the meal she passed out. Because by this time I'd decided I was on a mission. And he'd got this little overnight case, and I'd set their beds up here. And my son was away, and I thought this was calmer. He was away, so I made beds up, camp beds and things in my son's room. I said, you'll be sleeping here, and put his case on the thing. And when I went down a bit later on, I noticed the case had come off that bed and was outside the door. So I put it back carefully on the bed again. And then when we put his daughter to bed, he carefully took his case off the bed again and put it outside the door. And I looked at him, I said, why do you keep taking your case out of this room? And he kind of smiled enigmatically. And a bit later on, I suggested that he put his case somewhere else.
Ms. Bellingham.
I know.
And now you're about to go Mrs. Spain.
I know. It worked, though, didn't it?